my baby.
I'm Dana Denha.
And I'm Melissa Bondi, and this is Adventures in Parenthood, where we take a ride on the roller coaster that we call parenting.
Every kid today seems to have their own devices, albeit a phone or tablet. Many kids are using these devices before they even blow out the candles on their first birthday cake. This creates challenges that our own parents never had to navigate. But with the dark side of the internet so readily available, we need to ensure our kids are safe in the digital age. Melissa, talk about, Bryn's usage of the internet and how do you keep an eye on it? It's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
It's not. I found that I think it's easier now than it's gonna start to be. But right now, like with Messenger, kids Messenger, I'm approving her friends, everyone I know. I'm approving. They come to my phone as well, like the kids messaging, and she's so young to be doing it. I can't believe she's doing it at the age that she is, but she is, and we're here, and this is the time that we're living in. So it is close monitoring by both her and her dad and I, and making sure we're watching the websites that she decides to visit, and the YouTube, making sure we stay on the YouTube, making sure that that's YouTube Kids, and the right security is on those as well that we set up for her.
Yeah, yours to get is setting what you want her to be able to see before she goes in and watches anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself doing the same, or is she?
First of all, Keaton's always next to me. So most of the time, like if I'm working from home, she's sitting next to me. I can see what she's watching and stuff. I think I need to look into parental controls a little bit. We really haven't done it. I think it's something I should look into doing, because I'm not going to be next to her all the time. I can't say I'm just going to be sitting next to my daughter 24/7 for the rest of her life.
Right.
It's weird because nowadays, all of a sudden, Keaton just started talking about, and it's like fake, she's pretending, but it's like, watch me do my TikToks. And it's like she's pretending like she's doing TikToks on her phone. And I'm like, this is just going to be like 2 years from now, she's gonna be like, can I get a TikTok or whatever the newest social media thing is? I'm worried that I'm gonna have a 6-year-old that's gonna be like, I want to do my TikToks. So that's where I'm like, well, like, I don't want the social media aspect to be a part of it for a long time.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. I already think this is gonna be an uphill battle we're gonna both go through.
Well, why don't we talk to our next guest about how different ways that we can keep our kids safe. Joining us is the Executive Director of Michigan's Children's Trust Fund, Suzanne Greenberg, and Michelle Walters, Executive Director of the Washtenaw Area Council for Children, to tell us the best practices to keep your young ones safe in any circumstance. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like, if, maybe let's start with you, Suzanne, and you tell us about your organization and how you got involved in the organization yourself.
I think it's important for the folks to know that our programs within the local communities are identifying needs and gaps related to work that needs to be done to prevent child abuse and neglect. We can really get in with family and small children and young parents and really work and provide information that will help them and have them be those first teachers and to be those strong people that they want to be for their families. I myself came from a very abusive, sexually and physically abusive home. And what I was absolutely clear about was that you can raise children without harming them. I just didn't know how. So I'm very, I have a lot of empathy for parents because it's hard work. So anything we can do to help and support them, that's what I think we need to be doing.
Michelle, why don't you add on and tell us a little bit about the local angle for those of us that are in Washtenaw County?
Sure. So Washtenaw Area Council for Children is just a local organization that provides the primary prevention services in our community. And we're one of the councils designated here in Washtenaw County to do that work. And our local council really promotes child safety, child well-being, and we really work hard to prevent, before it ever even starts, prevent that child maltreatment or abuse or neglect. We provide educational services and supports, programs to children, parents, community members, youth serving professionals, all throughout the entire Washtenaw County area. So we really just provide that direct service to all individuals within the community to make sure that kids are safe. We have a sound community, that people are supported. Because like Suzanne said, parenting is hard work. So what do we need to do to help support parents? What do we need to do to help support our professionals to make sure that kids are safe? And what do we need to do to help educate children so that they become empowered and strong individuals and are able to then protect themselves against abuse as well?
One of the things that you both sort of mentioned, and it's an interesting way to think about it, is how parenting is hard. And you don't really know what you're getting into when you become a parent for the first time. I mean, we all know that, right?
Right.
So it's not, you're trying to teach us as parents how to parent better without making our kids feel like they're in an unsafe environment.
Yeah, a lot of parenting programs, a lot of parent support and education involves what we talk about the toolbox, for parenting, because for me, my toolbox was empty. I didn't even have a toolbox.
Well, and I like that you mentioned that, your own personal experience, because you didn't have a great childhood to work off of, where some of us, maybe we did. I have great parents and I had something to look up to.
Exactly. Well, and part of that is that even if your parents can explain how it was to parent you, your child could be extremely different. And generation to generation, parenting culture takes different looks at, right? Whether it's timeout or spanking is okay. I mean, it gets to be generational. Or gosh, how do we handle new teeth coming in for babies, right? There's messages from all around, friends and family, about how to do things. And one of the things we want to do is be in the community. And when I say we, it's our local programs like Michelle's, Washtenaw Area Council for Children, because they have the pulse of the community. They're going to be able to meet and not duplicate the work. And when they raise those critical dollars, we give them a small amount to get started or to help them, but they're really in their communities building these communities around this concept of prevention and the importance of everybody's role. And that's, I think, what's really important when parents come and they're asking for assistance. First of all, that takes so much courage, and we're super happy at every county to help. But what's important too, as I said, it's hard and it's a tremendous opportunity. My children are 27 and 32, and they are incredible human beings who I really like and also adore and love and all that good stuff, but I really like them. And my challenge when they were getting through their teen years, could I keep liking them? And I was told I couldn't. I was told I couldn't like them as terrible twos and as 3-year-old attitude-filled person. And 10, when they start to get prepubescent and things really dramatically change, it was like, these are people that I really liked. So I think that's important as parents for us to just feel support in the community.
Well, and I think the other thing is, you mentioned it takes a lot of courage to reach out and ask for that help, but maybe you're not even at that point yet where you feel like you really need help, but maybe you're getting to that point where you're just confused or you don't know if you're making the right decisions. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help from an organization to know how to talk to your kids right, because it's all trial and error. I know that. I do things and I'm like, man, I feel sick to my stomach that I just spoke to my daughter that way. And you know what I mean? It's like, and it's having that toolbox. It's knowing the right way to say something and not being harsh in your words and hurting people's feelings.
I think too, just to kind of interject a little bit there too, because I'm a parent of younger children, and I'm right in the thick of things right now. And I think that it's also being okay with admitting that, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry I said that. That really was not a good way for me to express that to you, kiddo. And this is what mommy should have said. And I still love you. And I hope that you can forgive me. And let's move forward. Let's both grow and learn from this. Yeah. And that has been so empowering for me as a parent to learn that. And it has also been amazing to see my kids change their behaviors as a result of me saying, I wasn't right. It wasn't okay for me to do that. And I admit that. Let's move forward.
And that is a hard thing to do, to be self-reflective like that and say, this is something my husband says to me all the time, that I'm incapable of saying I'm sorry. And so I've been trying to work harder on being sorry for things that I truly feel sorry about, not things that I don't think I'm sorry for, but things that I truly feel sorry for. And I've been trying to better communicate with my daughter about my feelings, because I feel like if I don't express my feelings properly, then she can't learn how to express her feelings properly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And we talk to parents about that all the time.
I just this morning, I said to myself, again, I'm just being so short with her. And then afterwards I feel this guilt because I'm being so short. And I'm like, gosh, I should not have talked to her like that because she frustrated me. And I'm trying to work how I can deal with it too without being snappy to her as well.
Yeah. And I think it does not help. Just I've been talking a lot with like school counselors and even just my neighbor parents who are also struggling. We're all on this bus together right now. We're talking about how could we not be so short? Well, it happens. We all get there. And so being okay and not judging one another because of that. And knowing that my neighbor's not going to judge me because she heard me yelling at my kid through the window, right? It's springtime, windows are now open. How do I make sure that I feel okay with that or my neighbor feels okay with that and moving on, right?
Yeah. I'm not affiliated with an organization that may need to contact you for anything, but could I? Who is it that can contact you?
Yeah, anybody can call us anytime. We actually, our phone, hopefully the phone doesn't ring, but we do get calls often. Number one, we primarily get calls because people want to report child abuse has happened. So we just are one of the things that pop up on a Google search. So we direct them, we hear their story oftentimes, and then I share with them how they go about reporting that. But also we do get parents or even kids who call, hey, I need help with this. Do you have some resources available that I could use? Absolutely. Let's hook you up. And if we don't have those resources, we are so connected with a lot of agencies throughout our entire county that we're easily able to get people connected to the right resource or something that can be most appropriate for them.
I'd get calls about families that were wanting to take a vacation and what age can a child stay home alone? Is that legal? Like what child, it's those kind of questions that as parents, where is the book? Right? We don't have it. We need a manual, for goodness sakes. So we don't have one. So we're like, okay, I found a children's agency, like, oh gosh, Washtenaw Area Council for Children. Maybe they'll know. So, or the police said my 12-year-old could ride in the front seat, but no, she's kind of small, right? It's like those kinds of things as parents that just, we need more information. I parent my children, God bless them, with like Parenting Magazine and Parents, because that was the only thing that was really available. Now I sound really old, but the truth is that was the best resource, right? And friends. And I think that we can do better than that for sure. And programs like Michelle's, there's a variety of things that have become programs of the Washtenaw Council because of the needs in the community, like different safety programs, safe sleep programs, and things like that Michelle can talk about.
Before we get into that, as I was sort of researching your organizations, a thought came in my head where I'm thinking, if I saw something that wasn't in my family and someone else's family that made me feel uncomfortable, is there some sort of criteria?
Number one is always to think about the safety of the child. If you feel like there is harm being done to the child, number one, that child deserves us to advocate for them, right? I would want that for my own child if my child was in harm, and they just deserve that. But number two, it never hurts to at least ask the parent, hey, do you need a little extra support? Do you want to talk about what's going on here? Or can I help or anything like that? That I know that sometimes when I'm in a grocery store, sometimes I'm like, oh, I just need a person to reach out to me. Right. And then the other part is that if there really truly is something going on and it's not sitting well with you, it never hurts to call. It never hurts to call to make that report and just say, you know what, I saw this. You're reporting it anonymously. You call the number, they walk you through the conversation. They ask you some questions. If you've got some stuff, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. And they just really make it easy for you to say, I'm just really uncomfortable with what I saw. This is what I saw. These are the facts. This is where it happened. And please just look out for this kid. Because what I tell people is you may be that one call that makes it now something that they do need to really take a look at because they've already received 5 other calls, but that's kind of on the edge. But now the CPS workers can say, okay, we really do need to take a look into this and see what's going on. Does that family just need some extra support? CPS has a prevention department. They can offer additional supports for those families that are on that cusp of, yeah, they might need just a little bit of extra support. Maybe they need financial support. Maybe they need something else, parenting support. what is it that they need? Where can we meet that family where they're at and get them what they need so that those kiddos or that child can be safe and protected, because they deserve that.
All right, well, we're going to take just a quick break and we'll be back with more.
My friends and you, and also your presents, and also everything you give to me. Wow, I like you a lot. Thank you for your thoughts. I like you, I like you, I like you with the heart too.
We're back with Suzanne and Michelle. And now that we were talking about, more broad aspects of the organization, I'd like to delve into a little deeper into individual resources that you have available. And one of the ones I found really interesting was cybersecurity, because when I was a kid, we didn't have a computer at home, and that ages me. We did not have a computer at that. I didn't have a computer until I was like in college, I think. So, when you think about kids today, I mean, I think my daughter was 6 months old and had my phone in her hand. So it's a whole different ballgame. And it's something that our parents never had to think about.
Yeah. You are not alone. That is definitely one of our most, not necessarily sought after programs, but it's one of our most widely used programs. And there's a difference between cyber safety and cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is more along the lines of like making sure your passwords are protected, making sure that, you're just keeping your privacy settings set to where they need to be. What we provide is more cyber safety, where we're talking with kids about how do you make sure you're being safe online, talking about those unsafe circumstances where there may be an older person who is impersonating a younger person, trying to coerce you or convince you that something that you need to go with them or talk with them or become friends with them. So there's lots of risks that happen with the cyber realm. And as you all know, this last year, we have seen a huge increase in online use. The other piece that we really talk with kids about is the cyberbullying and the cyberbullying prevention, because that's a very serious thing that has really become much more apparent just even in the last couple of years, where kids are using their devices, social media, or other platforms virtually to make fun of or degrade other individuals. And what we're noticing then is the connection with people's mental health and wellness. So that's why we actually added that wellness and resilience component to talk to kids about the connection between their online use, their web use, their involvement online, and how it's affecting their mental capacities and their mental wellness. And then how do we help them identify that there might be a problem? How do they get the help they need? How do I help a friend? How do I provide that peer support? And also, how do we destigmatize mental illness? Because that is the number one reason why children do not get the help they need for their mental illness, is that they don't want to ask for help because they think they're going to be made fun of or ostracized. So.
And a lot of the stuff you mentioned, I think could pertain to being an adult as well. I mean, you look at websites and the way people bully other people in the comment section is outrageous to me. Like, I can't even believe this is the world we live in. So yeah, I think for all of us, we all could take like a little bit of advice on how we should act when we treat people online. I think.
Well, and that program, we do provide it not only to the kids, but we do then a separate session for the parents and then a separate session for the educators. So we make sure that everyone who's coming in contact with those kids know exactly what message they're receiving so that everybody can have the same language.
Did you find this last year, compared to the past, you had the calls that came in or the inquiries that came in were leaning more toward cyber? I feel like
Yeah, well, and actually even more into the wellness and resilience, because what we're finding talking to the counselors and the teachers at the schools is the kids aren't handling things well. And I think a lot of it is, number one, they're missing the social connection, in-person social connection. And there's just there's a lot of other pieces, obviously. And I'm sure other educators could go more in depth into that, but just knowing that mental wellness is on the edge for a lot of people. So.
Well, and I'm sure like for teenagers and stuff, I mean, you're going through so many hormonal changes that I think that any one of us could look back at our teenage years and feel like a little bout of depression or something like that, because it's just, it's hard to be a teenager. It really is. I mean, I can think back and be like, I'm glad those days are over.
Amen.
You know, it's interesting though. I think when we listen to young people, teens in particular, who are not having their senior year the way it was supposed to be, or not having their graduations or whatever it may be. And, you know, I am listening to one particular relative who was brand new going off to university, and after her first year, she came back and was really angry about how different college was than what was expected, and a very happy-go-lucky kind of gal. And I thought, you know, we don't know exactly how this is affecting everyone. And as adults, I can be like, man, as an extrovert, I hate not being able to hug people. But as a 7-year-old, you know, I just get mad. Like, I don't know, Mom. I just stop asking questions, right? And so for parents and children to understand that more, and that it's completely normal, if there's such a thing. I mean, we all are going to be affected. And as I say, just adults can give us a little more information, and kiddos are just maybe a little more angry, or maybe they're crying. Like you said, Dana, about feeling depressed and not really even knowing what that is. So yeah, it's important that we're out there meeting those needs. And I'm grateful to hear there's so much going on in education and the mental health sector. Everybody's really kind of keenly aware that we need to be better trained and better aware and ready for when return to school, because it's going to be different. Well,
and you said it, Susan, you know, even people who are mentally well are struggling, you know, and so we all have our ups and downs. It just because I may be mentally unwell doesn't mean that or mentally well, that I know how to deal with it all. Because this is a whole new world, right?
Was there any other programs? Dana mentioned some of getting more into the depth of the programs, or any other ones you wanted to mention? I know we had talked about sleep safety, and then you had one regarding like body image. Like, is there any other ones you wanted to mention?
Yeah, so those are really great programs that were utilized a lot this year. As you know, when COVID hit, babies didn't stop being born. So we wanted to make sure that parents were still receiving those services and making sure that there were safe places for those babies to sleep. One of the number one reasons why we have infant deaths in our state and in our country and in our world is that we have co-sleeping that takes place. I don't want to knock that for anyone who supports co-sleeping, but the American Academy of Pediatrics, their recommendations are to make sure that a baby is in a crib or pack and play by themselves, no blankets, no pillows, no bumper pad, no nothing except for their onesie or their sleeper, whatever that is for them, that's all on their body, but nothing else in their crib, and a firm surface. So we wanted to make sure, and we made sure that families still received those educational supports and the pack and plays. We had to do socially distanced deliveries to people, leave them at their doorstep and walk away, but we still made sure that those were delivered to people. You were talking about the body safety classes and that kind of stuff. We also made sure that we were providing, a lot of stuff was happening one-on-one with families, because parents were like, how do I talk to my kid about this situation? And making sure that their bodies are safe. So we talked to like as young as 3 years old up to second grade about their body safety. How do they keep themselves safe at home if they're home alone? If they've come across matches or lighters or firearms, things like that. And then we also talk about safety of their body in terms of individuals touching or looking at their bodies, making sure that they know to say no, go and tell someone. And so we continued those services as well. It's much easier now that school was kind of back in session, at least virtually, so that those kiddos could still receive the services. And we did mix it up a little bit where we were training lead people within like childcare centers so that they could be in those classrooms with those young kiddos and still get that knowledge and information out to those young people. I have a now 4-year-old, but she was 3 at the time when COVID kind of hit, and trying to help her understand and learn about how we keep our bodies safe is hard. And we still wanted to make sure that those kids were getting that information. And then along with that is that child sexual abuse prevention, the We Care program, and then even educating adults about child sexual abuse prevention. Because you know what, we all have a role in that, making sure that we know if we hear something or we know that something is happening, we need to report that. That's unexcusable if it goes unreported. So making sure we're creating a safe environment for kids and also making sure that we work to protect them down the road. So still offering that Stewards of Children training. Yep. And all of that's been available virtual for people.
These are amazing resources that I didn't even know were available in the community, honestly. And I probably could have used the sleep one, because teaching a baby how to sleep is like the worst task in the planet. I mean, my daughter still wakes up in the middle of the night and she's 4. So I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
You're not. I remember thinking
the struggle is real. It happens to all of us.
But we're just about out of time. But before we go, can you tell people how they can support the work that happens at both WACC and CTF?
Sure. If they go to their Google and say Michigan Children's Trust Fund, or easiest is to go to Facebook and look up Michigan Children's Trust Fund. We get a lot of information there through social media. And that's what I would recommend. We do have a website, but our social media is up to date and gives us lots of opportunity to share latest studies, research, and just some things that are going on around the state.
Yeah, I would encourage the same thing. Check out the website. You know, that has obviously our standard information, but our social media sites where it's Washtenaw Children, that's our primary things through Facebook and Instagram, where you learn about, we provide professional development training and opportunities for not only educators and youth serving professionals, but also parents and adults, other adults in the community. So that's where you get a lot of that information. The first thing that I always tell people is tell someone that you just heard about this. Let people know that it's something that you found interesting, or that one thing that you heard today that was intriguing to you. So just pass that along. The other thing is, if you're a parent and you have kids in the school system, check in with your local educators and say, hey, is this happening in our schools? I want to make sure that it is, because I want to make sure that my kids are receiving this information. I did that. I didn't realize that my 2nd grader wasn't getting education on how to use her computer now in this virtual world. And there was stuff happening in the chat. And I didn't realize it until I saw some bullying happening in the chat. She didn't even know it was there because she doesn't, honestly, my kid's kind of oblivious to the chat. She's 2nd grade. So I was like, hey, Teach, can you have our cyber safety person come in? She's like, yes, absolutely, let's do this. And so they implemented it through the whole entire school. So get your educational people on board with that. And then also always feel free to donate, whether it's through volunteering or helping us stuff envelopes or something like that, or maybe it's a cash donation, or letting a foundation know that this is something that's worth supporting in your community, whether it's here in Ann Arbor or throughout the county or any other county throughout Michigan. We have some amazing councils throughout the entire state. And I just want to make sure that everybody gets the support they need, because when we invest in prevention, we change the trajectory of kids. We change the trajectory of our healthcare system. We change the trajectory of our education system. Investing in prevention is really, really valuable in our communities. I can't say enough about that.
Thank you both for being a guest on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
If you have an idea for a parenting show topic or guest, talk to us on Twitter and Facebook at #CTN Ann Arbor.
Visit a2gov.org/CTN and visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to watch a full lineup, and remember to comment, like, and share. Thanks for joining us on this adventure in parenthood.